Traders, welcome to a new price prediction video of mine. So this was a heavily suggested video. A lot of people wanted me to talk a little bit more about where I thought Bitcoin would be moving in the medium term. So without further ado, let's get into it. So these are the 5 topics that I am going to be talking about today and the order in which I talk about them. If you don't know any of these topics or they seem kind of unfamiliar, that is a-okay. I'm going to be doing a short little description of each before I talk about why I'm using them. And just to keep it simple, I'm going to be just tagging each of these either bullish or bearish. So if I find that Bitfinex sentiment's very bearish or very bullish, I'll just say bullish, and that should make a little bit more sense soon. All right, so the first indicator that we have for me to make my price prediction is Bitfinex sentiment. And this is the Bitfinex long percentage. So this is going to show me, of all margin positions on Bitcoin on Bitfinex, of the shorts and the longs, what percentage of them are long. So I'm going to hide this. Where's the, hide, okay. And let's take a look at what the Bitfinex margin percentage is currently at and what that typically leads to. So this green line is that Bitfinex margin, long margin percentage, and typically what happens is when this rises to a high level, that's right before price goes down. When this rises to a very low level, that's right before price goes up. It goes high, price goes down. It goes high, price really goes down. It goes pretty low here, so price went up and stayed up. But then, when you get things happening like this, where the Bitfinex percentage goes from about 40%, and I'm getting that number right here, from where my cursor is. I'm going to make it a little bit clearer. Like right there, yeah. So right here you can see we're at about 39.95. Currently we're at 54.84. Now typically when you see the Bitfinex long percentage move from here to a much higher level, but price is actually moving down and price isn't moving up in congruence with it, that typically leads to a continued move downward. So if I was to call this bearish or bullish, I would say Bitfinex sentiment is bearish and it is supporting a move lower. All right, so item 2 on the list is significant price levels. So let's go take a look at the price levels that I think are very important. Not just for support and resistance, but a different kind of price level. One that shows me where the final seller is likely to be, where the final seller is likely to sell at, and where the final buyers or the beginning buyers likely to buy at. So what I believe here, let me go to the 1 week just to show this a bit clearer, is that this kind of formation where we moved down, we moved in a descending triangle where we had lower highs, we had consistent lows at support, that moved downward. Now we're seeing some consolidation after a strong down move. Now, 2 things. One, if I see continued consolidation, I'm more inclined to have this be bullish. So if price continues to just move sideways, then that's going to make it more likely, in my opinion, for price to move up. But if I see a short period of consolidation and then a move down, then that would be a bearish kind of formation, where we have a strong move downward, a bit of price recovery as it moves sideways, and then, not surprisingly, price continues to move down. So that is one thing that I am keeping an eye out for, is the amount of time that passes for consolidation. Because the longer the price just stays actually flat, the more likely it tends to reverse. Now, what we're looking at here, the recent low on BitMEX was about 31.14, and if price goes below 3,000, that's going to be below this recent low. And it's also going to be below a significant psychological price level of 3,000. If that occurs, if price goes below 3,000, I think that could either be the start of an uptrend or a continued down move. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, duh, it's either going to turn to an uptrend or a continued down move. The reason I say it could start an uptrend is if price goes just below 3,000 and triggers many stop losses, you get news articles saying that Bitcoin's dead. You get, every trader on TradingView, Twitter, YouTube saying that Bitcoin can only go lower. That's a really good sign that price is going to move up. And if we can trigger a lot of stop losses, then what's going to happen is a lot of these final sellers within the downtrend, so sellers could be longs whose stop losses haven't been hit yet, or it could be shorts who want to short but have not done so yet. I think that if price goes on very high momentum below 3,000, that we're going to get a lot of selling, and that may be where the final sellers sell. And where the final sellers sell is the exact point where the uptrend begins. So if price goes to 28 something or 29 something, like 29.50 or 28.72 or something like that on BitMEX, then price just quickly moves back upward. So something like this. Price moves down and makes a tail on the daily, and then moves back upward. That's a very bullish sign, because that's what that is telling me is that we're just triggering stop losses, triggering the final sellers to sell, collecting their liquidity, and then just moving upward without them, and then burning them down here. And this would also liquidate many longs who have not been liquidated yet as well on BitMEX. So this kind of move down here would be very efficient for the market to make, to just tap into the final sellers within the downtrend. Now, this could happen, and the reason I believe that price could start an uptrend is if price made a tail down to here, so a wick on the daily or on the 4 hour, and then moves higher. But if I see price do something like this, where on the daily chart or on the 4 hour, price moves down and then holds its low, meaning a bearish engulfing candle, something that looks like this. That is a very clean bearish candle. It's just about average volume. This move right here, that kind of candle is not a good sign. That isn't exactly the sign of a stop loss hunt where just price triggers stop losses, then just goes higher, but it's the sign of a start of a strong downtrend of prices even lower. So the amount of time the price spends below 3,000 is going to tell me the likelihood that price is going to begin an uptrend. If price, like basically just to sum this up, if price quickly just goes below 3,000, then pops right back up above 3,000, the probability of an uptrend is a bit higher. But if price goes below 3,000 and then just stays below 3,000, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that those lows might not be triggering liquidity, triggering stop losses, and forcing people to sell, but actually prices at which traders are trading at, and that could continue trading downward in that direction. So that is one thing to watch out for. And on the daily, one quick thing: if price does in fact move upward, so instead of tapping this liquidity, let's say price just moves upward, I wouldn't be shocked to see price move just above these highs within this range here. Let me show that. I wouldn't be shocked to see price move within just above these highs to trigger lots of stop losses of anyone who wanted to short, and also to trigger any retail traders to long at market top. I wouldn't be shocked if price went to these levels here and then price moved a bit lower after triggering this liquidity and going just above those highs. So I do think that a stop loss hunt is going to be in order soon. And I think that is whatever stop loss hunt occurs. If price goes up to here and does that, I think we go lower. If price goes down to here, triggers this, goes right back above, then I think price goes higher. All right, now let's take a look at the Crypto Fear Greed Index. So this is just a measure through, and I can post this in the description below, but of how much fear and how much greed there is in the market. Typically, when there's a ton of fear, we want to buy. When there's a ton of greed, we want to sell. And values that have shown us that there's been a significant amount of fear, it has been, for extreme, would be 10 and 10 below. So when this goes to 9, when this goes to 10, that is a very good time to buy. It went down to 11 here. It's those very low values, I'd say 10 and below, or you could even do 15 and below, are signs that the market is likely to move up. Because if we look at this value here, December 14th, the Fear Greed Index was 10, very pessimistic. Many people just thought the price was going lower, December 14th. December 14th was here. Was here. This was December 14th, price made a doji candle, then price moved higher, about by 30%. So if we get the Fear Greed Index that goes, if this number continues to drop, that's a pretty good sign that the market's going to move up, because that would tell me that a large amount of the crowd is bearish, which would make me bullish. But if this starts to increase above these Fear Greed highs, then that's a pretty bad sign. That's telling me that too many people believe that an uptrend will occur, which makes it unlikely to occur. And I think that if price does go below 3,000 and makes that kind of tail formation or spends one day below 3,000 then goes above 3,000, this should go below 10. And if the fear greed index goes below 10 at the same time of that stop loss hunt occurring, that would be a great sign to start an uptrend, to trigger liquidity, to convince everyone that the market's bearish, and then just move upward. That seems very efficient as well for the market to do. All right, so let's go into indicator number 4. Each of these indicators is going to get just like slightly more complex. So if you've made it this far, you are awesome. You got the first 3 indicators under your belt of sentiment, significant price levels of liquidity, and then 3 fear greed index. Then 4, we're going to go to the bid-ask sum, BAS. Made a lot of videos on this, but for anyone who doesn't know what this is, I can give a quick 20-30 second explanation. Red is all limit orders to sell, green is all limit orders to buy, gray is price. And what this is telling me is within 5% range of the current price on BitMEX, how many limit sell orders there are within 5% upward, and how many limit buy orders there are 5% downward from the last traded price. And typically when we see a lot more limit sell than limit buy, we think price is going to move down. When we see a lot more limit buy than limit sell, we expect price to move up. So when green is higher than red, we think price will go up. When red is higher than green, we think price goes down. Here we have a lot of offers or asks. They're the same thing. So a lot of people trying to sell here, not many people trying to buy. Price went down. Let's take a look at this point in time, and then we're going to look at current. Here we had a lot of people trying to buy, 93 million on BitMEX on the 5%. Not many people trying to sell. Price moved up. And you can continue to see then on the 7-day, we had a lot of people trying to sell here and just not many people trying to buy. So if a lot of people are trying to sell and not many people are trying to buy, that's when price goes lower. And that happened here as well. What we currently see is a lot of people are trying to sell and not many people are trying to buy. So of course this is unfortunate. I'd rather say, hey, Bitcoin's very, very bullish right now, but it still looks like we have a lot of people trying to sell here and not as many people trying to buy. So we have 97.5 million USD dollars worth of buy orders of people trying to buy, and 129 million USD dollars worth of Bitcoin trying to sell. So it looks like more people want to sell than buy. So it wouldn't shock me if price moved down. So if I was to label this bullish or bearish, I would call this bearish. I don't really see much reason for this to be bullish. So we can also look at different price ranges. So if I looked at like the 1%, that can show me very short-term action, what's going to occur. Like it did here. It looks like we're at about equilibrium here. And even if I wanted to, I can zoom out to the total order book at the 50%. And you can see here that there's a clear dominance of more people trying to sell than people trying to buy. So overall, I would say BitMEX BAS is bearish. And to recap, Bitfinex long percentage looked bearish to me too. Significant price levels isn't really bearish or bullish. It's just different kinds of scenarios that can occur if certain lows or highs are crossed. And fear greed index to me looks, I'd say moderate, looks about not bearish or bullish. But if the fear greed index goes any lower, it would be quite bullish. All right, let's take a look at the final indicator, MDR. And this comes from the site vcdepth.io, which has been featured in a lot of my videos recently. So we're going to scroll to the bottom of the site. And what I'm looking at here is the historical combined global market depth. This tells me of all cryptocurrencies tracked, how many people are trying to buy, how many people are trying to sell. So how many limit buy orders are there on their order books? How many limit sell orders are there on their order books? Now, typically when we see a lot more overall, remember this is the entire cryptocurrency market of limit buys and limit sells. When we see a lot of limit sells, so here we had $433 million worth trying to sell and $348 million trying to buy, clear dominance of the red over green. Price did move down on November 7th. So November 6th, November 7th was here before price really took a dive. And you can see that the MDR was negative 11.37%. When you have a very low MDR, like a negative like 10 or higher, it's a pretty strong sign that price is going to move down. When you have a very high MDR, like here, like plus 7.7%, that's a really good sign that price is going to move up and that we should be buying. So December 15th, we had a very high MDR. And December 15th, again, was here. That's when we had an MDR of plus 7.7%. And also just to tell the actual raw values, we had $199 million worth of just overall cryptocurrencies trying to be bought, and only $171 million trying to be sold. So more people were trying to buy than sell. Price moved up. All right, currently, not much really going on here. It's at about equilibrium, as you can see. It doesn't look like it's really moving one way or another. Now, typically when the bids and the offers like this are about equal, that means the price moves sideways because there's no clear dominance of the sellers or of the buyers. So I wouldn't be shocked to see price in the short term move sideways. That would not shock me at all. Now, this is a look at all cryptocurrencies and all of their order books. But what we can also do is look at the 5% of all cryptocurrencies and on their order books. So I'm going to click nearest 5% here. Now what this tells me, and ignore any values before here because this is just when the data had begun to be taken. So just look at these values. This is showing me on all cryptocurrencies within 5% of the current price, how many people are trying to sell and how many people are trying to buy. Meaning how many limit sell orders are there, 5% above, and how many limit buy orders are there, 5% below on all cryptocurrencies. So it looks like here on the 5% on this short-term buy-sell pressure, looks like we have a lot more buy pressure. So just to recap on this, we had about an equilibrium, about equal amount of buys and of limit buys and limit sells, buying pressure and selling pressure on the overall order books. In the short term, it looks like we have a lot more people trying to buy. So this would tell me in the short term, I wouldn't be shocked to see price move a little bit higher. In a little bit more medium term, I wouldn't be shocked to see price just continue to move on low volatility. As long as, let me go back to here, as long as this stays about flat, the overall, I wouldn't be shocked to see price just move flat. But in the very short term, I wouldn't be shocked to see price move up a bit. Now that's the combined. What we can also do is look at just Bitcoin. So if we look at just Bitcoin's MDR, which aggregates the order book data from all of these exchanges here that are listed on the right. Here we have bids and offers, and here we have the MDR. It's the amount of buy pressure versus sell pressure that we have in the market. If I go to the 3-month, you can see times where we had a lot more people trying to sell, and we had a lot more people trying to buy. Currently, it looks like we have a lot more people trying to buy. So Bitcoin MDR, I would call it bullish for now. The overall cryptocurrency MDR, I would say neutral, and the short-term MDR, short-term combined MDR, I would call that bullish. So it looks like from the MDR, so from all of these exchanges here, it is telling me that there is more buying pressure than selling pressure, as we can see here. We currently have 28 million worth of buying pressure and only 16 million worth of selling pressure, which gives us the MDR of 22.69%. And on the 5%, we have about the same number here, 23.51. All right, so just to do a quick recap of all that I was talking about. So it looks like Bitfinex margin positions, looks like we had a lot of buyers, which doesn't shock me if price would move down in the medium term. We looked at the significant price levels of across of 4,300 to stop loss on the shorts, or across of 3,000 down to 28XX or 2950, 2920 or something like that. Then we looked at the fear greed index and saw that it was about equal. I mean, it was about it was neither bullish nor bearish. It really could go either way, but I would like to see the fear greed index continue to move lower. Then we looked at the BitMEX BAS, which was telling me that price is likely to move down, bearish. And then we looked at a few different MDRs, so the combined MDR and the Bitcoin MDR, and overall it looked relatively bullish, and it looked most of it looked bullish, and then just one indicator in there looked neutral. I know, that is a lot of indicators, but the reason why I go through all this pain to explain all these indicators and to look at all these indicators is I believe that those kinds of indicators are going to give me the best indication of where price is going to be moving in the future. You know, if I was just to pull up like MFI, RSI, and just talk about price action volume and just nothing else, there's only so much I can do with a prediction. But if I'm looking at actual buying pressure of how many people want to buy, and if I'm looking at actual selling pressure of how many people want to sell, that's going to give me a much better indication of what's going to happen in the market. And if I look at the Bitfinex margin percentage and I'm looking at how many people have already bought, how many people have already sold, then I can also trade off that as well. So I know that this may seem like indicator paralysis, and to some of you it definitely does, and I completely understand that. I do think that I wouldn't be shocked to see price move below 3,000, just to trigger a lot of liquidity to a move down here. However, by looking at the MDR and by looking at what VCDEP.io, so the global MDR, the Bitcoin MDR, that's telling me that we're more likely to move up, although BitMEX is telling me that we're more likely to move down. If I was to pick like which one I'd rather believe, I would lean more towards VCDEP.io and more towards MDR. So if I was to just give like a, tell me, are you bullish or bearish at this current moment? I would say I am short-term bullish, but medium-term bearish. So short-term, I wouldn't be shocked to see price move a bit higher on that demand that I had showed. And if that does happen, I wouldn't be shocked to see the BitMEX orders to begin to weigh a little bit more bullish. But if I see price go, up to here, and then we get that flip where actually the MDR turns very negative and the BitMEX BAS looks very negative as well, then I can't see Bitcoin going any higher, and we'll probably go below here. So short term, I'm bullish. Medium term, I'm definitely bearish. And long term, as always, I am bullish. But I am going to be looking at what happens here time-wise. So how much time does price spend consolidating here? How much time does price spend up here or down here, and so on? And I do think that if price is able to go below 3,000, I think that price should have a much easier time going a lot higher very quickly. I wouldn't be shocked to see Bitcoin just shoot up very rapidly, just out of nowhere, out of the blue. I think before that move ever happens, we would look at MDR and we would look at the BAS and we would see a lot of buying pressure, accumulating, and that's what would probably precede a move that would go much higher. But I wouldn't be shocked to see over the next week or two to see price go higher, and then anything beyond, I'd say like a week, I wouldn't be shocked to see price go below 3,000. Of course, none of this is financial advice, and these indicators change every day. So what you always want to do when watching a video like this is always to check the indicators that I use, and to check if the values that I talked about are still the values that you're looking at. If this turns very bullish, where the green goes much higher than the red, price is probably going to go up. Or if this turns let me get it off the 5%. If this for whatever reason turned very negative, then price would likely move down. So you always want to just keep checking these indicators every day, just to make sure that they're at the same values that you last tracked them at. But yeah, that's just about my price prediction for Bitcoin. As always, I'm hoping that it moves up, but I really would not be shocked to see some significant stop loss hunts happening in the near future within the coming weeks. And be very careful putting your stop loss just below 3,000 on BitMEX, because I think that is a spot where price may hunt the liquidity. All right, stay safe. Happy trading.